All right. So when it comes to authentication or backend generally, I've always told you, the backend developer, you are the one in charge. People have different ways of doing things. I know for sure that anything you do with codes, there are two other ways plus your own way. That is three ways. So there are three ways I know that anything can be done when it comes to codes. So you are not just paid for writing codes, or you're not hired to just come and write codes. You are hired to come and solve a problem, to solve a challenge. Now, the company you're working for will not tell you how to do it. They will just tell you what they want to do. We want users to register. So, but as the backend developer, looking at how your company works, you build the type of authentication system that will fit and suit your company. There are different ways to implement authentication, and we may not cover all of them, but the idea is that you learn how to think and you know what to do and how to do it. Now, all of them are similar. They are all the same thing. So let's assume we have a code like this. And what this code is doing, sorry, how do I change this? Let me put this here. Okay, then bring this here so that I can make it longer. All right. So what the code is doing, we are getting these details from the user. And we're passing it through our auth model to create a new user object. And then we are saving the user and we are returning a message. And when it comes to authentication, now this is where you begin to think as a developer. So whatever I'm saying or whatever I'm saying now, it is me thinking, it is my thought process. So follow me while I'm thinking and also be thinking. The first thing you want to do is that you don't want two persons to register on your database. You don't want two persons to be on the same data, to have the same details on maybe their email. They're using the same email, or maybe one person will register twice. No, you don't want that. You need to solve that issue of having double registration. Because imagine if you say you're creating for a company like LNG company and they want to pay a citizen money and they say register, or maybe JAM, they say register, and then somebody is able to register twice with the same email. That is wrong. So the first thing you want to do is you go to your model, which is this model, and in the schema, yes, the email now is what you don't want to appear twice. You want one user per email. You don't. That is, but it also depends. You can also do it for phone numbers. You say their phone number has to be one phone number for one person. It can be any other that maybe you are giving them an access code, and so this access code is meant for one person. Two persons cannot use the same access codes. So depending on what parameter you are using, for me, I'm using emails now. So what you can do is say unique. You want this email to be unique, meaning no two persons should have the same email. And like I said, this validation this is Mongoose validation. It only happens at the time when Mongoose want to save. So you don't rely on this Mongoose validation. You do your own validation before the request gets to the data, the part where it will save data. So although I will handle it manually, I just want to show you that you can also do it here and insist that the email must be unique. You will not have the same email. That's the first thing. The second thing is here. The moment you get the user email, now you have the user emails. You want to first find on your database to see if there is anybody that has registered with that email before you proceed. Once you get their email, you first find on your database to see if there is anybody on the database that has registered with that email. Now, if there is someone that has registered with that email, you send them a message as a response. Sorry, this email is already in use, or sorry, this user already exists, whatever the message will be. But at that point, you don't want to register the user and save their details again. So you want to check that somebody is there anybody using this email already? So how do you do that? You say const already existing user. Now this is my own variable, although it is long, but you can create your own variable. Already existing user is going to be a variable that will house the result I find. So I will say await, go to my auth database, find one, and you're finding that one. Now the reason why I'm not using ID, I can use ID if I have ID here. I'm trying to find one person now, but I don't have the ID. What I have is their email. So I'm saying find them by their email. So if you find somebody by the email here, I want you to return. Now this means that it will find. If you find somebody, then this already existing user will have a value. But if it doesn't find anybody, then this already existing user will not have a value. So that is the logic. So if this has a value, then it means a user exists. But if it doesn't have a value, then a user does not exist. So what do you want to do? You want to say if already existing user. So you are saying if you have a user. So, but if you put negation here, it means if there is no value. So there are two different things. This is when there is no value, but you want to check for when there is a value. So if it tries to find one person on this database by their email, it will save whatever it found here. So based on this variable now, you can use it to check, does this variable have a value or does it not have a value? If it has a value, then it means a user exists. But if it doesn't have a value, then a user does not exist. Please, the class attendance is only for class attendance. I may not be able to come here. Your questions should be in the question and answer topic because that one will always be open. So what you want to do is you want to return, you don't want to continue. So it says status 400.json and you pass in a message. Your message can be anything, but I will say this user account already exists. Like this. So this is the validation I'm talking about. You have to validate it yourself. You don't wait for Mongoose to check whether there are two of them. No, you need to first check yourself if there is a user that has that email already. If there is, return and tell them that there's an account with that email already. But if it doesn't, now the thing is this, if this thing does not have a value, then this part will not run. I want to believe you remember if or else statement. If this thing does not have a value, then this part will not run. Automatically, it will proceed to the next line like that. So that is a validation for you. Now, as a backend developer, you will do a lot of validations. Like half of your codes will be validations because even though you want to perform logic, you want to be sure that when that logic happens, it is correct, absolutely correct, no mistake there. So you want to be sure that if you have saved the user, everything about that user has been handled and the user is authentic user. That's what you're doing as a backend. So you should get used to writing validations at any point in time. I may not do so many validations, but when you are coding, you understand that everything you do should be correct. Everything you do should be correct. So there should be validations for almost everything. That is one. Now, when I mean validation, the first validation you're supposed to do is to make sure that they are actually sending email. That is the first, because here you are using email. So you should make sure that they are actually sending you email. Now I can add that, but I don't want to make this file longer. You know what? Let me add it. Since the email is very compulsory, we are using it. You must validate that there is an email, otherwise return them. So I'll pass it the response here too. Now I will do this validation in another file so that this file will not be so long. But I want to believe at this point you know how to read codes. If you see my code, you at least now you get used to me and see how I write my code. You can read my code line by line and you know what is going on. That's the first thing. The first thing every developer should be able to do. You should see a code and you read it line by line and you know what is going on. Sorry, the invite link. All right. So if you are looking at my codes, you should not, even though the codes, they are very long, you should be able to read it and know what is going on at this point. So this first line, you are getting the user details. At this here, you are trying to make sure that there is an email. If there is no email, return a message that will say, please add your email. Now, the reason why you are making sure, you can do this for all the other parameters, their name, their password. You also need to do it for their password too. No. The moment you add return, here restriction, it means that process will not continue again. It will stop there. So if there is no email and you add the keyword return, it means it will end there. It will not continue again. Or if the user already exists and you add return, it will end there. That registration process will not continue again. So that's like a restriction. I don't know if that's the restriction you mean. So, but, and also another thing is we are going to need their password. Their password is compulsory. Now, these validations are for values that are compulsory. So I'm just doing it for email. You can do it for full name, password, phone number, and so on and so forth. I don't want the file to be very long. That is why I'm not doing the validations here, but validations are compulsory. Now, I'm not talking about the validation you will do in the schema. You can do that. You can do validation in the schema, but try as much as possible to handle your own validation. I handle my validation in middlewares. That is why I haven't created the middleware function. I want to show you the function first before I go to middlewares, and then I can do my validations in middlewares. That's why I do my validations. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be, I talked about it. I talked about it, getting users details. And then here, validating to make sure there is email. Yes, then here, finding, checking if email is already registered. But please, you should be able to see my codes and read it. You should be used to me now. Then return. No, sorry. Return if user already exists. That's for that. Then here, now that is, let me just write out everything you will do step by step. Now, after you check that the user does not exist, then you want to create the user object. Model object. Now, when you create the user model, before you create the user model object, you want to do two things. Sometimes the front-end developer will do password and confirm password, and will send you the two of them together to validate. But I don't advise for that. Let the front end handle that password validation to make sure that confirm password and password are the same thing, and then send you only one password. Only one password. So what you do is, the next thing is here, you hash the password, because they will be sending you only one password. And when you hash the password, then you want to set new password to be hashed password. Password and do this together here. Yeah, so this is here, and then you want to save. Now there are other things you want to do, but let's go. So you want to save user details, and when you save the user details, the last thing you want to do is you want to send the user email that the account has been created. So these are the steps that you take. The first step is getting the user details, which is what we're doing here. Now, the next step is validating the details that they are sending to you, that they're actually there and they are correct. Now, for example, this password, in as much as you are validating that the password is there, you should also validate whether the password is minimum of 6 characters. You should also validate whether it has the special characters that you want. Now, I will do that, but I'm not doing that here. I like to do that in the middleware so that this function will not be too long. So there are other validations you want to do to make sure that it's more than 6 characters, make sure that it contains capital letters, it contains numbers. You can do all of that for the password. So the next thing is you want to check that the user already exists by trying to find the user with that email. Now, if it returns an empty variable here, it means the user does not exist. But if this variable has a value, then it means that the user exists, and you want to return a message that this user account already exists. Now, the next thing is you want to hash the password, and you want to set the new password to become the hash password before you save it. And by the time you save it, you can go ahead to send them an email. We'll do that. We'll do that if we still have time. I pray we have time. We'll then send the user an email and tell them that their registration was complete. Now, this is a simple validation. Let's continue. So what I will do is, now to hash the password, I use bcrypt. Sorry, not bcrypt. Bcrypt. I use bcrypt to hash password. So you can choose to use bcrypt if you want. You can choose not to use it if you want, but you have to install bcrypt to be able to use bcrypt. So what I will do, I'll say yarn add bcrypt. Sorry. Like this. Now there's bcrypt, there's bcrypt.js. The two of them are doing the same thing. I don't know if there's any other one that you can use to hash, but there's bcrypt, there's bcrypt.js. Now that's the one I like using, bcrypt. Sorry. So yarn add bcrypt, hit enter. All right, mine is installed. How do I use bcrypt? Now, the first thing you need to do is to bring in bcrypt. Now, let me be sure that it's actually installed by going to my package.json and confirming that there is bcrypt in my dependency. There's bcrypt. So bcrypt is used for hashing. Now, it's not the only one used for hashing, but it's the one I use for hashing. sometimes I might use bcrypt.js, but I like by default I like using bcrypt.js. And import bcrypt, and I want to believe you understand why we are importing like this. This is for ES5. Hey, I keep forgetting that try catch. We'll do that try catch. Don't worry. We'll do it. So import bcrypt. So I have bcrypt here now, and what I want to do is, when I get to this part where I will hash the password, I want to create a variable and call it hashed password is equal to, now whatever I hash will be stored there as the hash password. So bcrypt is going to hash it the number of times I want it to hash it, and then to store it inside there. So what I want to do is say bcrypt that I imported dot hash. That is it. bcrypt that I imported dot hash. Now the hash is already suggesting that you pass in data, you pass in the sort, and any other thing you want. So I'm just going to pass in the data and the number of times I want it hashed. So the data I want to hash is the password, and I want you to hash it 12 times, meaning the first time, hash it, return the hash. The second time, hash the hash again, return another hash. The third time, hash the hash of the hash. So keep hashing it 12 times. Now, I suggest some people add, what some persons do is get random texts, nonsense text, just rubbish text, and add it together with the password and mix it together. That's what they do. But I don't do that. What I do is hash it for me 12 times. Now, some people go with 8 times. 8 times is good. So I will suggest from 8 and above. Still, I'm trying to understand what you mean by still. So 8 times and above, that's fine. But I think he's asking a question. Let's wait. Exactly. Now, even if somebody sees the hash and they try to unhash it, which is not possible, they will still not be able to decode it. The text is useless to them. It's useless to them. Yeah, it's unbreakable. So 8 times and above, but I recommend 12. 8 times and above, but I recommend 12. And in this country, we have trust issues. You can hash it once, no problem. I've never heard that you hash with bcrypt and it was decoded. I've never heard it. So, but I have trust issues. I don't trust anybody. I want to hash it to the point where even if I've forgotten that project for years, it cannot be decoded. Once you see the hash password, it's useless to you, like that. So that is why I hash multiple times. But you can hash once if you want. But everything you do on the back end, know that if one small leak goes on, people might die because of hypertension. So there's nothing wrong in taking extra precautions. Nothing wrong. So, but if you want to hash it once, it's fine. But I hash more than once. So what I'll do is I will comment this out so that we see what is returned as the hashed data. Or you know what? I will return it as the response. I will return it in the response. I can't console log it if you want, but I want to return it in the response. So the hashed password. So what is going to happen is when you get the data, you validate, you find it as a user, you hash the password. Now we want to see what is returned as the hashed password. So let me run this project. I'll open it up in what is it called? Terminal. So I'll say npm run dev. Okay, server running. Where's my MongoDB? MongoDB connected. All right. I can console log it, but I want to return it in the response. I will console log it. Let's add a console log here. CLG hashed password. Yeah, so we'll see it in the response. We'll also see it in the console log. Let me open my Postman. And by now, I want to believe everybody has Postman. Even if it's not Postman, there are others you can use. I want to believe you have them. And the first one here should be the register. Yes. So we're passing in a password. Now, the first thing is if I send this, is returning a response, and the hashed password is okay. Okay. Now, this hashed password is returning empty. Can anybody guess why? Can anybody guess why that the hashed password is returning empty? Any guess? Any good guess? So after this, it has 12 times. After 12 times, what happens? Will the people be able to see the password? Yes. The people will not see their password. No. Once you hash it, you will discard the password that people can see and save the password that people cannot see. I think what you are asking is to use how do people log in? I don't know, but we're also going to do login. So you see how people log in. You need to generate using bcrypt. Okay, well, your hash is good. I'm sorry, your guess is good, but the issue is this. You know, bcrypt will take the password and then start doing something with it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that thing that is doing is actually hashing it. So hashing it takes time, but the whole of this function will run in seconds. So if the function will run in seconds, before bcrypt will be done, the function has completely run. It has finished running. So if the function has completed running and bcrypt is still, yes, they can recover their password. We'll also do that too. We'll do that too. So if bcrypt is hashing it and the function has finished running, it means it will return exactly. You await keyword. You will tell it to wait for bcrypt to finish. So wait, because bcrypt is going to do this in 12 times. So wait for that 12 times. There's no point. Now, actually, 12 times here is now your sort, because it has set 3 things. So once you, this 12 here is taking the place of your sort. So what you can do, no, don't bother. You can add sort, but 12 here is taking the place of your sort. So you're just taking the file, rambling it, adding more data, adding more. Now the thing is, bcrypt will be adding the sort for you if you don't add the sort. Let's just put it that way. It will be adding the sort for you. So why did not specify the schema when the password is coming from? Why did not specify the auth schema where the password? Now the password is not coming from the auth schema. I want to believe the password is actually from the user. Now I don't know what you mean by it's coming from the auth schema. The password is not coming from the auth schema. It's actually coming from the user. Okay, now you are using await inside a function that is already async. So this handle register is already async. So we can use await anywhere. You can use await anywhere. So, but you cannot use await when the function is not async. await is only used in an async function. You can't use it in any other function. So if you must use await, make sure that your function is async. So we've hashed the password. Now we're telling our function to wait for bcrypt to hash this thing and then return the hash. Let's try it. I think was I getting an error here? Auth.find1 by the email. Let's try again. I'll send this request. It's still creating. Now the problem is it is still creating the user account, but it is hashing our password. Now we will know why. We're actually going to check why it is actually creating an account. We'll check that. But for now, you can see that this is creating a random string, very long string. So is it possible to decode what the password was from here? Also, when you use the wait, what of the async? Referring to the variable. I don't understand this one, but we'll get to that. So this is the hash. This is what is returned to us. If you want to see it in the terminal, sorry, keep this one here. So this is the hash that is returned when bcrypt is hashing. So looking at this, you can see it, but this thing does not in any way look like what the password was. So this is what you save. I want to know why it's actually finding a user. I want to know why this is already existing user should be await, find one. If you find it, return. Now I'm trying to debug why it is still running. Okay, Christopher, go ahead. Yes, Christopher, go ahead.
Hello, good evening, sir. So my initial question was why the password on the postman was displaying an empty variable. You know, you asked that question, so I was feeling it might be due to the fact that we didn't add auth while we were after the await function to show where the password is actually coming from. That was why I asked that question.
Okay. Now the reason why it was showing empty is because we didn't wait for it to finish before we return the response. That's why it was showing empty. But now we are waiting for it to finish. Where is it? Here. Now we are waiting for it to finish. So this function will not continue unless bcrypt is done. And also the hash will not appear as this. No, it will not. This is like referencing hash on the front end, on the user, but on the back end, hash will look something like this. This is what hash will look like on the back end. And the same thing with if you are conversant with wallet addresses. So the hash too will not appear like asterisk. It be random numbers too, or wallet address. Yeah. So you may not see it as this. Now, this sort I'm talking about now, this sort you are talking about now, normally before, some persons will add sort here. That sort now is like random text, generated random text, letters, numbers, symbols. You add it together with your password and mix it together. That one is there. But currently, this number here is now taking the place of the sort here. So instead of you adding the sort, bcrypt is adding the sort for you and generating a very long string with mixing it with random letters. So it will do it more than once because this here you are specifying 12 times. So you can add the sort if you want, but the 12 here is actually taking that place. For now, I have never seen or heard that a password that was hashed can actually be decoded. No. The reason why we use bcrypt is if bcrypt hash your password, only bcrypt can decode it. That's one. Number two, this number here say 12 times. So except you have access to my backend server, you will not know how many times I actually hashed it. So I've never heard that the password that was hashed can be decoded. Yes, please go ahead. What's his name?
Yes,
Samuel, please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Hello,
Okay,
Samuel.
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. You almost answered the question just now.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Because I did a little of
Okay.
Okay, I did a little of cyber security.
I can hear you now.
So I was trying to find out that you said the person have access to your backend to know how many times, because I think it has a hashing table and it must be consistent. So is the hashing, is it random number hashing, or it follows the hashing table to be able to hash the number of 12 times, which is consistent with bcrypt or with whatever cryptographic stuff it does. So it means for you to be safer, it's when someone doesn't have access to the backend or something, right?
Okay. Number one is this. One thing is bcrypt is always updated. So if I tell you this is the format which bcrypt follows to update to hash their password, tomorrow they will change it. So we can't categorically tell this is how bcrypt hashes password, which is why it is one of the safest. So if somebody comes and tells me bcrypt does that, it's not true. I don't know. We don't know. And it's good that we don't know. It is only bcrypt that knows what it is doing. And I'm not even sure that the engineers that actually wrote the code to hash bcrypt actually knows what it's doing. They don't. So I am certain that nobody exactly can tell me how bcrypt hashes password, which is why it is one of the safest ways to hash anything. So I can't really tell whether it follows a particular format or anything. I can't. But I'm happy that nobody knows and nobody will know. Because the moment you know how bcrypt will do it, then the whole password is gone, because you know what to do and get ahead of it. People are working. Now, that's one thing when it comes to the internet. If you build something, there are people who are working tirelessly to make sure that they can crack what you did. Now, I used to be a fan of that before. You see somebody would release an app software and say this software is a paid software, but we don't have money to pay for it. We'll start to find ways to crack it, and trying to crack it now. And for us, we're trying to have access to it. We don't actually want to run the company out of business, but for them, we are actually doing something that will run them out of business. So if you know exactly how bcrypt is hashing password, it means you will start tampering with people's passwords. So, and that is why nobody knows how it's done. And I like it that way. In a situation when the user tries to log into the platform, does the backend bcrypt again come? Exactly. We're going to come to that part. It is only bcrypt that knows how it hashed the password. If a user is trying to log in again, the user will provide the same password that they provided before it was hashed. So bcrypt will come again and try to compare whether this thing I hashed, does it in any way, will it bring back this particular thing that this user has typed? So if bcrypt sees it, bcrypt will say, okay, these two things match. Even though we'll see in there, we know it doesn't match, but bcrypt will know that these two things match. Like that. So and of course you have to install bcrypt in your application, and the version of bcrypt you are using. Now the version really matters, which is why I was explaining before. The version, this is version 5. It means there's version 1, there's version 2, 3, 4, and so on. So, and they have been upgraded. They've been upgraded so many times. And because of that upgrading, and only bcrypt knows what it's doing. So, but for the user, we're going to do that. The user just provide the same password that they entered before, and then what you will do as a developer is to call the same version of bcrypt you used to compare for you whether these two things will in any way bring out the same thing, like that. So that being said, now in the absence of anything, let's continue. And I want to be sure that now we can see the hash password. We see how it appears, and then we can actually save it. But the error I was having is that even though I'm doing this, it is still creating a new user instead of returning. So if already existing user, return. Now, I don't know why it is still creating. Maybe I need to check my function and know exactly what I'm calling. I'm calling register port 5000. And yeah, this is where I'm calling it example 2, find by email. Okay, here, let's come back again. The function is go to the auth, find one, and we're passing in the email, which is the email we return. So why is this not running? I'll try again one more time.
Can we get all the users?
All right, let's get all the users and confirm. Send. Okay, it is not. There's a problem here now. It is either is not going to that database or is going to another database, because we have only one user here, and this is the password. Which connection string am I using? Because it's not actually getting me okay, sorry, we are not saving. That is why it's not returning. We are not saving. So if we are not saving, I want to see that this is actually running, because it will still go ahead and save it. It is not supposed to continue at this point. Now, sometimes this will be from the system or the VS Code. So it could be that I need to update my VS Code, or my VS Code has been overworked. Sometimes when you see this error, so you just close VS Code and restart most times. So what I'll do, I will close it and restart again. And also here, Ctrl+C, and then start the server again. And I want to be sure that that will not happen. It still created a hash. Why? This is the email. Okay, I know why. The email here is 2. And here, the email here is not 2. It means there is no user that has been saved with that email. So since we are not saving, there's no way it can actually find a user with that email, because that email is a new email that has not been saved yet. So because we are not saving, it will continue to run. But if we try with this exact email that has no number, then it will run. So let's remove these 2 here, and then send the request. And then it returns a message, this user already exists. Now I want to believe you know that you got that explanation. Yeah, I want to believe you got that explanation. If you got that explanation, drop a thumbs up. you got that explanation. Now the mistake we are doing is the email. Now on our database we have only one user, and the user's email has no number, but we are sending an email with a number. So what we are doing is to check if that email already exists. So initially the email doesn't exist because the only email that exists has no number. But when it runs and get to this part where it will save, it is not saving. So because it's not saving, that email is not registered on the database. It will continue to run until you register it on the database, and then when you find it, you will find it on the database, and this message will be returned. Exactly. Thank you. So that was the error. So what I'll do is now I will go ahead and save the user details, because we are already hashing their password and you are seeing that it is providing a hash. Now you want to save the user details, including their password. So let's run it again. I'll come here. I have 2. If I send my password crash, it said await new user. New user is not defined. Sorry, because I'm not creating this new user. No. Now I have new user. Now, because we are hashing the password here, the sentence here says set the new password to be the hashed password. We need to set the new user's password to be the hashed password. And how do you do it? You just come to password and then set the value to become the hashed password. That's all. So if I make this to be bigger, you see that we are saving a keyword password, but this colon means we are assigning it the value of the hashed password. So it will no longer be the normal password or the original password, but it will be the hashed password. This is how you set the new password to be the value of the hashed password before you save the data. So I'll save this down and see that my server is running again. Is running, and then I'll send this request again. It's sent. Now I wasn't returning the user details. I was returning only the hashed password. So that is why we are not seeing the user details. We only see the hash password. So what I'll do is I'll return user to be the new user and save it, then come back again. If I send this request again, it should tell me that this user account already exists. So I need to change the email to something else like 3 and then send it. You then create a password and hash. So this is now our hashed password. Now, at this point, it is creating another challenge. Yes, no. We are not saving the hashed password. We are saving our password to now be the hashed password, which is what is here. So we are saving password, but the value is the hashed password, not the main password that was sent, which is this, but rather what is hashed and returned as this. So that's what we are saving. So another challenge.
Sorry, sir. That's what I'm asking. That
okay.
Is it like, are we saving the hash password in database too? Now, no, but we are saving the passwords too. But now it's not the hashed. So that's what I was trying to.
Okay. Yeah, we are saving the hash.
Because the previous time you were recommending we don't save the hash. We don't save anything like password.
No. You save the hash password. That's the only way you can retrieve the password anytime. There has to be a record of what was hashed.
Okay.
Yeah. If you don't want to save it, it means you'll be hashing it every time. You'll be hashing it every time if you don't want to retrieve. So what I would do is to save the hash, because even if you see the hashed, you cannot do anything with the hashed. Now, but the first challenge now is this is going to be returning a password. Now, since it's going to be returning a password, the front-end developer will be seeing it. We don't want the front-end developer to see the password. So what we can do, easiest way to do it is say the user details will be, I have not taught you spread operators. It's not everything I'll teach you, but let's set it. Okay. So the easiest thing here is going further, we can actually delete the password so that the password is not returned. But the easiest way to do is that the user will become an object, a new object. Inside this new object, we are spreading the value of the new user. We are spreading everything. Now, when you see 3 dots, 1, 2, 3, it means you are spreading. It can be like this. You can spread an array and you can spread an object. 1, 2, 3. Whatever is in this object, you are spreading it and pouring it inside. Yeah. You can also do it for an array. 1, 2, 3. And this is like in JavaScript. This is spreading operator, but it's usually used more on the front end, but we use it too on the back end. I think that's why we'll skip that. So spread operators, and if you don't know what spread operators is, fine, but when you see 3 dots, you are spreading something. So what this means is you have an object that is created here, and this object is the new user object. That is what you created. So now you are saying everything that is inside this new user object, pour it inside here. Pour all of them. So the email, put it here. The full name, put it here. The password, put it here. The phone number, put it here. But let the password now be an empty string. That is what you are saying. You are saying all the details that we have used to create this new user, everything that is inside this new user, pour all of them inside this new object that I created here. This is a new object. Pour all of them inside this new object I created here, but let the password be an empty string. So when the front-end developer sees the password, he or she will be seeing an empty string, but not the actual password, and also not the hashed password. So what that means is if I send now, okay, this user already exists. Let me do 5. Okay, I'm spreading objects. That's another challenge. So, but sorry, how do I do this now? I'll do it the easiest way, a better professional way. Leave it like that. We're gonna do it the better way, the better and the professional way. So you are saving the user details. Normally, is there a question? Normally, you will not be returning the user details normally. So what you can do is choose what to return. You can say return me the new user dot their email, return their email, also return the new user. Sorry. It's giving me so many challenges.
What about the structure?
I can say I can destructure too. I can. So to destructure, you not do it here. Rather, there are so many ways to do it. You can say now the user becomes, or let's say you destructure like this from the new user. And I think somewhere you're liking this destructuring thing. Email, destructure the email, destructure the. So why are we getting cannot redeclare email? We already have email declared, so we cannot redeclare it. So so many things is going wrong now. What is the easiest way to do this? What's the easiest way? Normally, you will not be returning the user details, but I want us to return the user details so that we'll see it without the password. So I'm trying to figure out the easiest way to do that. Let's leave that. We'll just return the whole new user. I think I remember what to do again. Let's just return the whole users. So, but normally you will not return the user details. You will just send the user an email. So the front-end developer will just be successful, and that email has been sent to the user. Now the user at that part now, that's where the second thing comes in, sending of email. But let's say we are done with registration. Do you understand registration? You are done with registration. Do you understand registration? Now, there is the sending email part. We've not reached there, but that's the last thing you want to do when a user registers. We might do that. So, do you understand registration?
Okay, excuse me, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I wanted suggesting, what if we add the new user dot include to include the
This is the
variable, or sorry,
answer.
the
This is
object.
the solution. This is the solution. I forgot. This is the
Thank you,
solution.
sir.
Just return exactly what the user sent you and remove the password. That's all. That's all. So this is the answer. There's a way I handle it on the schema and all of that, but it's too advanced. And like I said, it doesn't mean that you doing it this way, you are wrong. No. It's the same way. There are so many ways to do it. So return what the user has sent you and exclude the password. Sorry, let me enter another 7. Send, and it returns the user details without the password. But we know that the password has been saved. That's it. So any question? Now this dot exclude, or what is it called, dot select, you can also do it. We'll do it. I'll do that when you are logging in, because when you are logging in, you must send the user details. And at that part, the user is not sending you their full details, but they're sending you just email and password. So you need to be sending the full details of the user. So we'll do that on login. But do we understand registration first? Looking at it step by step. So line 9, line 12, line 17, line 20, line 25, line 28, and line 32. I want to believe, of course, even if you don't understand it. Now, when it comes to backend, don't wait until you can do this offhand from the top of your head. No. When I started coding my backend for the first time, I had a project I worked on while I was learning. I had it by the side, and I was using it to code a real life project. So, which is why most times I share my codes with you too, so that when you are coding real life project, you have a project on the side that you can be looking at. It may not give you the whole idea, but to point you in the right direction and what to do and how to do it. Yes, the login is a post request because they will be sending you their email and their password. Okay, let's go through registration again. Now, registration, we have the first thing is to create the endpoint. Create the endpoint to register. You can call it register or sign up, and then you create a function that will run when this endpoint is hit. So the function is an async function that accepts the request and the response object. You are getting the user details here, their email and every detail. And like I said, you will do validations when you get these details. Yeah, so but for now, we're only doing validation for the email. We're going to do validation later. And then the next thing is, when you get the email, you want to check whether the user, or if any user, has already used that email to register on your database. So you ask your database to find one by their email. Some people do this email. So you are saying use the key email. Now the key email is this key here, email. And then the second email is this email that the user is sending to us. But to keep it very neat, ES6 says you can just, if the key and the value are the same spelling, you can just write only one. So, but some persons do it like this. But if the name and the key and the value are the same, you can just keep it as only one. Find it by the email. Now, when you find it, save whatever you found here. Now, this is going to either have a value or it will have null. So if it has a value, that means a user exists. Return a message that says this user account already exists. But if it does not have a value, this will not run. It will then go straight to hashing the password. Now we are calling bcrypt and calling a method to hash. We're passing in the user password and asking it to hash it 12 rounds. And then take the hash password that is returned and save it in here to be our hashed password. Then we want to create a new user object following our model format. So we are creating a new object for the user. We're passing the email, the full name, and we're passing in a key called password, but the value now is going to be the hashed password. And that is why we are putting colon and setting the value to be this. So if I do something like this, you know that the value of this email is not the email that the user sent. Rather, the value is this string called UU. So that is what we are doing here. The password here is not the password that the user sent. Rather, this colon means we are assigning it a new value here. It's a password key, but we're assigning a new value. Well, I don't want to do this. I will remove that. So back here. So when you create that new user object, you want to then save it on the database. When you save it, you want to send the user an email or maybe a text message, anyone, to notify them. Then you are sending back a response and sending a new user object. Now in this object, you're only adding the email, the full name, and the phone number. That's all. So that is all for registration. Should we proceed to login? If we should proceed to login, drop a thumbs up. But if you have a question, ask your question.
Hello, sir. Sorry. You earlier said the login is a post request. So I was thinking, if login is actually a post request, what is sign up then? Because I was feeling sign up was supposed to be a post request, then login would be a get request to be able to get what a user that have signed up already has.
Okay. Now, a post request is any request that the user must send you data. In post request, you are expecting the user to send you something. That is one. Now, sign up and register are the same thing. Sign up and register are the same thing. Sign in and log in are the same thing. So it depends on what you want to call it. You can call it register, you can call it sign up. Now, but for login, you can call it login or you can call it sign in. That's number 2. Number 3, at register, you want the user to send you their details when they are registering. So that would be a post request. At login, you also want them to send you data. That will also be a post request. A get request, the user is not sending you anything. Rather, you will be the one sending the user something. So that is a get request. A post request, the user will send you something. Now, if you want to send them back a response, that's up to you. But they must send you something. But into login and sign up, you must send data. How do we know who is trying to log in? We need to know who is logging in. Now, how do we know who is trying to register? We need to know who is registering. So that is why they must send us their data, whether it is sign up or it is sign in, whether it is register or it is login. So you can choose to use the keyword register or sign up. They are the same thing. You can choose to go with login or sign in. They are the same thing. But a GET request, login cannot handle GET request. Now, let's talk about login first. Now, I want you to know, you'll be the one to judge whether login will be a post request or it will be a GET request. Let's create for login. So here, there is no login function. So let's create a login function. I created a function. Let's create it. Const handle login is equal to an async function that will take the request and the response objects. I think I did write this thing down so that I will not be writing it again. Sorry, permit me to copy. I want to believe you are used to this part of the function. So even if I copy it, you'll not get confused. So just permit me to. I'm just feeling a little lazy. That's why I'm just copying it. So now let's say these are login. We want to create an endpoint for login. We don't know whether it will be post request or get request, but allow me, let's make it a get request. Now we are just judging whether it's going to be a post request or a login. Just allow me. And we'll call handle login here. After this one, handle login. Sorry, I'm not exporting the handle login. If I don't export it, I can't have access to it. So I need to export it here. Handle login. Then save that. And then this handle login, I want to add it whenever this function is called. I'll leave it here and save. So back here, let's write handle login. The first thing you want to do to log in, you need to get or collect or receive, however you want to put it, receive or accept. Let's use the keyword accept user details. Accept the user details. That's the first thing. The second thing you need to do is run through your password and check if user exists on your backend. Because if the user is trying to log in, it means they have registered before. So you want to check if actually they have registered. So check if user exists in your dashboard or your database rather. That's the first thing. You want to check if the user exists on your database. If they exist, then they should be able to log in. But if they don't exist, you should tell them that this user account does not exist. You import bcrypt only where you are using it. So since we are using it inside the function, that is why we are importing it in the function. You only import where you are using it. If you are not using it in index.js, there's no point importing it here. So, but because you are using it in the function file, that is why you are importing it here. Now, Google authentication, there are other authentication. Google is not the only one providing you authentication. There are so many authentications, but their authentications are built in different ways. Now, there's an application I built. It's for paying utility bills. The owner of the application is not interested to see any much details or handle too much details. So what they do is I use Google authentication for that. Users can sign up or not, but either ways they will pay bills. So you can use digital authentication. Now, normal authentication comes in when your company has its own way of doing things. So if it's a simple login system, you can use Google authentication or any other authentication. But most of these authentications, you have to pay for them. They are not free. You can't get the full package. You have to pay. Some part of it are free, some are not free. So, but when your company has its own details, for example, they want to get user BVN. Google does not accept BVN. The company wants to, there are sometimes you want to send user XMS. Now, there are some applications I've created. You don't save the user details when they create accounts. You save their details when they have clicked on the link that you sent to them in their email. So you want to verify that the person that is registering is actually the owner of that email. Also, sometimes you can send them OTP. You don't want to save their details until they have sent you back the OTP that you sent to them, either via SMS or in their email. So these are some things that will make you do your own normal authentication, depending on what you are working on. So if you are working in a company where authentication is not really important, but you need users to log in, you are not doing anything special with it, then that's fine. Now there are sometimes you want to add commissions. You want to give what is called refer and win and be referrals. Sometimes where you give people some incentives for referring people to your software. So it means that authentication system, you will run it yourself. You need to know everybody who is registered. Google authentication is not bearing in mind that you can give commission at any point in time or give incentives like that. So although you can customize the authentication, not just Google authentication, there are so many of them, but like I said, for some of them they are not free, and the company you are working for, they need to pay money to use the authentication. So most companies will not want to pay money twice, meaning they will pay you as a developer and you also pay Google every month, or any of those authentication that is being used every month. So most companies would not want it. They want you to pay you and you build the authentication for them. So, but you can use any other authentication you want, only if what you are doing is not much. Here, we're not doing much. So everything we're doing here, you can do it with Google authentication. We're not doing much. But there are sometimes you have to take extra steps, which is where you do your own authentication. But you need to know what authentication is. That is why you are learning it. Whether you want to build it, whether you don't want to build it, you should know it and know how it works. So accept the user details, check if the user exists, and then you want to check user password. To match the hashed password. You want to check if user password matches the hashed password. The second thing is you want to then generate an access token or a token. We can't call it access token. Generate a token that will grant user access to your application, and then you send back your response. So looking at these details, should this be a GET request or a POST request? Looking at this, should it be a GET request or a POST request, and why? A POST and GET is both. Okay, when you say it is both, how do you add both here? Because these are just one request. Do you add both requests here? Because this is just one. So how do you add two requests here? Okay. For persons that say it is a GET request, why do you think it's a GET request? Prince and Samuel, somebody should tell us, why do you think it's a GET request? I'm also going to come to you that says a POST request. So Prince, Samuel, who wants to go first? or who wants to explain from your own group, the group of persons that say is a GET request? Why do you think it's a GET request? And so you that say it's a POST request. Check what
Okay,
you are.
let Prince start first, then maybe I'll come.
No, it's only one person. One person will tell us why do you think it's a GET request. Here.
Okay. I'll be talking since Prince can.
Okay.
So,
where is Prince? Sorry, where's Prince? This is moving on. Go ahead. Tell us. Prince, you can go ahead. Tell us.
Hello.
Okay, tell us. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, for me, I think it's a GET request because already the user, they've already given us their details. The details are already in our database. So what they're doing is to actually get information like those details that they've already given us, like they actually have access to those details that they've given us. So we are sending them back those details. That's what I think.
Okay. The group of persons that say is a POST request. Who wants to speak first? Who wants to speak for us? Let me see who's raising hands. Who wants to tell us why they think is a POST request?
I think Lawa wants to speak.
Where is Lawa? Lawa, do you want to speak for us? Nobody's raising their hands.
He said it on the comment. Answer.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, go ahead. Lawa, go ahead.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Why do you think it's a POST request?
Okay, I think it's a POST request. Hello.
Yeah, why? We know you think it's a POST request, but why do you think it's a POST request?
Hello. Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you. Go ahead. I can hear you. Okay, I think he's having network issues. Who else wants to talk to us? Cosrep, do you want to say something? Christopher.
Okay.
Alabi. Okay.
Let me
go
try.
ahead.
Let me try. I think one of the reasons why I think it's a push request is that the user has to send in some details, which includes both the username and the user's email.
Okay.
And we have to do the back end logic to check if use an if and else statement, or to check if the user is already an existing user and the password matches. So I think if and else statement covers for my concern on how to get back to the user if his details are captured in our database.
Great.
So, but we need to accept the user's email and accept the user's name.
Great. So that's it. You've answered. Yours is correct. Now, for Prince, I think where Prince is actually not understanding is that these two functions are not in any way related to each other. Even though the users have sent in their details the first time they are registering, the moment this function returns a response, that is the end. So the register function has finished running. That is the end. If you want to do anything again and we need your detail, you should send in another detail. So I think that is where you're mixing it up. You say we already have their details saved. We're just returning a response. Yes, we already have their details saved, but they are not the only ones that we have their details saved. There are so many users that we have their details saved. So how do we know the exact user that is asking us to send back their details? there is no way to know if they don't send us something. So I think that should explain it. We have their details saved, of course. We can send it back to them. But if we have hundreds of users and everybody is clicking login, how do we know which person to send details to? So we need to know who the user is. So they have to send us something first. We do a little validation with what they sent us to confirm that they are actually the rightful owners of that details and they are asking for the right information. Then we can send them details. So, but that's all. What I will do is I'll change it back to a post request. So login is a post request. So the first thing first, you need to accept their details. Const. Let's do like Samuel, the structure, the email, and the password from the request body. Like this. Now, some persons don't destructure. They just use the request body like that. I've seen people do it. But I like the structuring so that I can also validate too. So some persons don't. So me and Samuel, we are in the same place. The second model, I want to understand what you mean by your second model. Now, we have only one model here. And that is the auth model. So which is the second? Go ahead, Kosher. Where is she? Go ahead, Kosher. What do you mean
Good
by
evening.
second model? Yeah, good evening.
Okay. I created two models. Like I'm trying to practice along. So
Okay.
I created a different model, and I cannot
Okay.
find it in my data, my MongoDB. I don't know if it's from me.
Okay.
But
On the
the
MongoDB, you
postman,
can't find it there, not in your
yes,
files.
yes, the MongoDB. I can't find the second model.
But are you able to make a request to that
Yes,
particular?
I am able to make a request and it's saving, but I cannot find it.
Did you refresh your MongoDB database?
I've done that 2 times. Like it's not for me. It's not showing. It's only the first one that is there.
Is
So
it
if you can
possible
show
that you
us,
have another project?
I didn't get you, sir.
Is it possible that you have another project on MongoDB? That
Another process.
yes, yes.
It's the
Did
same.
you?
I'm using the same connection string. I
Yeah.
created two
Okay.
different models.
I will go to MongoDB. I'm just trying to see. Sometimes we have two projects in the same place, and the reason why let's confirm. Let's confirm. But that shouldn't worry you if you're not seeing it. You should see it, but if you're not seeing it, it's fine. So long as you're able to send data, receive data, it should be there. It should be there. You should see it.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know why MongoDB is taking time.
If you can show us how to create two modules and still see it, like find where both
No,
of
no,
them
no, no,
is.
no. There's no special way of creating two models. Sorry, models. Once you create a model like this, you see it. Now, what you will see is not the name here, but rather the names here. So make sure they're not the same names.
No, they are not. Well, let me
So this is
just
what you will see. The names here, you should see them. And I will demo that by opening an old database that I have more than one models. You can see all of them. Let me see if I can find one here. I should have a database that has so many models because I create models when I teach. Okay, sorry, our time is almost up. So I'll go here. These are my projects. I'll go to, let me try this my hub on. And if it is not dormant, sometimes now when it comes to MongoDB, if you're not using it, you're like here now, my cluster was already paused because I've not used it for a while. So you need to resume the cluster and I can't open it yet until the cluster is done creating again. It might take 1 to 5 minutes, but we'll come back to that. So, but there is no special way. There is no special way to create model and it will appear on database. Create your model like this. You should see this name accordingly, either alphabetical order or based on how it was created. We'll just see these things. It's still building. So, but there's no special way of creating it. So let's continue with login. Then you need to validate that these things are actually sent to you. So, but for now, we're not validating. Let's validate. If not email or password, you want to return a response with a status of 400 and a JSON message let me break to the next line. Message that will say enter all fields. And the reason why I'm using the word enter all fields is because I'm not validating individually. If I'm validating individually, if I'm doing this individually, then the messages will be different. So validations are compulsory. You check that. The next thing you want to do is if that validation passes through, let me confirm. As this is finished, now it takes a while. So I will wait for it. So we want to find the user to make sure that this user is actually on our database. We don't want people who are not on our database to find one by the email. So we try to find the user by the email. Now we validate and say if no user. So if you try to find the user and there is no user, return a response with a status of 404 .json and add a message that will say this user account does not exist. Like this, sorry. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to find the user, then save it on the user variable, and I'm checking when that variable does not have a value, it should return this user account does not exist. Now what we did here, we are checking for when it has a value. They are not the same thing. Here we are checking for when it has a value, and whereas in the login we are checking for when it does not have a value. So that means this user did not actually create an account, or maybe they didn't save their details. So that's the first part. The next part is we want to compare the password that we used. We want to compare the password that we used. So sorry. Okay. First things first, const. I will create a variable that will sound like, let me confirm if this is done. Okay, this is done. I'll open this database. Now, this is how you should see your models. This is a model for staffs. This is for students. This is for wallet, and this is for wallet transaction. So there is no special way. Now, if it doesn't work, just click. If you don't see them here, these are under tests. So if you have tests, make sure that you open it to be sure to see them. They should be here. There's no special way of creating them. Once you create your model with Mongoose, automatically Mongoose will show all of them here. Refresh, and you should see them now. But if you refresh and you don't find it here, check whether you have another project here. It may be in one of that other projects like this. So check if you have other projects and open up that one. Currently, I'm opening Smart Hub. And if I go to Youth Drive, this Youth Drive project, which is your own project, and click on database, browse collections. Now, these are all the schemas we have created. We have auth, we have blogs, we did products, and we also did students. So you should see all of them here. But if you close this test, you will not see them. So, but open them up, you will see them. So cost rep, I want to know if you find it. This one, I did it myself. So if you want,
I observe that is common to most of us. At times, they will just tell you either of it.
It's laziness.
Okay.
It's laziness. I don't want to do them separately because I'm supposed to send the user a message that will tell them exactly what is wrong. So if I validate email, I'll send them a message that relates to email. If I validate password, I'll send them a message that relates to password. That way, they know exactly what is wrong. And that's not the only part. Let's continue. We'll get there. So here we want to check that the password actually matched. So we want to do this. Say const is matched. Now this is matched is a variable name I created. If it match, it's going to be true or false. So that is why I called it is matched. You can call it anything you want, but I call it is matched. So is matched means it is either true or false. So is matched. I want to bring in bcrypt again because bcrypt, you have tests, you have just product inventories. Do you have any other project here? And this is the sample. I don't know. Check if you have any other project here which you are connected to. But you should see it. And even if you don't see it, don't worry. It may be it may not be an error, so just leave it. And you are doing well. I see your codes. We already have full stack developers here. See the kind of code you are writing. So back to here, we want to use bcrypt because bcrypt is the one that hashed the password. We want to use bcrypt to compare. So this is how you do it. You call bcrypt and you call the method to compare. Now you want to pass in two things. The first one is the password the user sent to you. The second one is the password that you saved on your user details. So that means the first thing, we pass in the user password, the password is sent to us. The second one is the password we saved. You know, here we are trying to find the user details on the database. And we are saving that details here. So there is every possibility that if the user exists, the user's details will be here. But if it doesn't exist, it will not even reach this part. It will just end here and go back. So we can say that we are certain that this will contain the user details if it gets to this line. If it gets to this line, it means there is a user details here. But if there is none, it will not reach here. It will stop here and go back. So if we can agree to that, we can then say the second password will be the user dot password. So this user dot password will be the password that will be inside this user details. So we are comparing the password that the user sent to us and the password that we found on the database or that we saved on the database. This is how you compare. You can call this is matched. You can call it password matched, or whatever you want. So the value is either going to be true or false. If it matches, bcrypt will return true. If it doesn't match, bcrypt will return false. So it returns either true or false. So what do you then do? You need to validate if not password match. You are saying if the password do not match. Now this part, I like to be skillful here. There's a reason why I like to be skillful here. Return a response that says a status of 400.json and a message. So now the message is the part where I like to be skillful. Why am I not saying sorry? If not. In this message, me, the backend, I know that the user email is correct by the time this is running, because here we are trying to find them by their email. If you don't find them, it will return. So if this one runs, it means their email is actually correct. But you don't want to tell the user that this message here is only related to the password. What I mean is this: password incorrect. I don't like to do this, and I wouldn't advise you to do this. Why? Because what if the person who is trying to log in is a hacker and is trying to guess the user details? So they have guessed the email correctly, but the password is wrong. So you are not telling them that the password is actually wrong. So what I do, I return incorrect email or password.
Or password. That was exactly the question I was asking, sir. That is why they normally return that
Exactly.
incorrect details or something.
Email or password, so that if you are guessing the details, you will not know which one is actually correct and which one is wrong. But if you return password incorrect, they know that the email is actually correct, it's remaining the password. They just start looking for the password. But if you say email or password, they'll be confused. So that
Yes,
is
sir.
for
That
user
was the question I
login.
was asking, sir.
Okay, nice. The next part is, if they pass this stage, it means that the password matched. So the details are correct. The email is correct. The password is correct. You want to grant them access. That brings us to tokens. When it comes to building authentication, depending on the type of software you are building the authentication for. Now, if it is a financial app like Access Bank, any bank, do we have a question? Sorry, I actually didn't see that. This is my user model. Okay, so why do you have space here? You want it that way. So you should have a model, and exporting the two of them. I don't see any error here. So which of this model are you actually seeing? And you're getting the details. So sorry, you should see it. But if you don't see it, you don't need to worry about it. Exactly. So, like I said, if they reach this line 74, it means that their password is correct, their username, everything is correct, their password matched too. So you want to grant them access. Now let's talk about tokens. Depending on the type of software application you are working on, that will determine how you want to build the application. Now, generally, we return tokens. For me, I call them access tokens. If you hear the word access, is token. So what it means is that the front-end developer will not be directing them to any other page on the front end until they see that token from the back end. is just like you have a gate man mounted in the front of any gate. Nobody enters without ID card. So that token is now like an ID card. Now, even though your details are on the database, people can verify that you are there. If you don't have ID card, you will not enter. So it has no need to do whether your details are registered, you have somebody that know you there. No, you must have ID card. So that is what the backend does. The backend will validate the user details, validate everything, and then generate an ID card. That ID card is the token. They generate a token for that user. So when the front end sees that token, it will then grant them access to use the front end, move to every page on the software. That's what the token does. But this token expires. I set it to expire, not just me. Some developers set it to expire. Now, the frequency of expiration depends on the type of application you are building. If you notice for Facebook, you don't log in every time. But once in 30 days, you are asked to log in again. Or maybe 60 days. I think they've increased it. So for Facebook, I think their token expires either in 30 days or in 60 days. Like that. That is like a social media platform that you don't have any financial details, no much thing there. There are sometimes you will be on a particular software, you are still there, you're currently there, the page is open, but you have not done anything. Because you've not done anything, they will then tell you you've logged out, you need to log in again. For example, bank apps. You are still there, you've not done anything much, it will expire. The token has expired, you can't do much, you need to log in again. So when it comes to bank apps or financial apps, they use sessions. And sessions meaning when it is inactive, when you've not done anything, expire, the token will expire. Some softwares give timing. This token should expire in 5 minutes. It should expire in 10 minutes. It should expire in 20 minutes. So depending on the software you're working on, that is what will determine how this token should work and when this token should expire. Any question on that? Or should I go ahead? If you want me to go ahead, drop a thumbs up. But if you have a question, ask a question. Any question on these tokens that I've explained now? Okay, set timeout is like a function that will clear something for you. So it's not like the token. Set timeout is like a JavaScript inbuilt function that will clear something for you. It will just end something. But this one, the token will be there, but it's no longer useful. The back to, like session. Yeah, session is usually used for financial apps. The moment you are idle for a particular period of time, your token expires. Everything expires. It's no longer working again. You have to log in again. But there are some apps, like social media platform, they give you a time, maybe 30 days before it expires. Other platform can give you 3 days. So there are some application that you log in today. When you open the website tomorrow, you are still logged in. When you open it the next day, you are still logged in. But if you come back after then, you are logged out. There are some that you are logged in, that same application you are logged in, but the moment you close the browser and you come back again, you need to log in again. So depending on the software you're working on, that's how you determine. I'll just show you how to set the expiration date and all of that. So that is done with JSON Web Token. Sorry, I need to make this a comment. JSON Web Token. So you can use JSON Web Token or you use Passport or any other one. But JSON Web Token is like a very random and easy one. When you see some job applications, they specify that you should know how to use JSON Web Tokens like this. So JSON Web Tokens. We're going to install JSON Web Tokens in order, some 15 minutes. Okay, Lawa, go ahead. Where is it? Lawa, please go ahead. Okay, you are typing your question. Yeah, just go ahead. Is he typing? Or you want to use the mic? We're waiting for you. Why not use the mic? Okay, I want to understand this question. When you are setting up your schema, you see this is string. There is no quote in it. And this S is capital letter, not small letter. It has to be capital letter, and there is no quote here. So is this what you are asking about? Well, you can't do this. You can't do this. I haven't done this. I haven't, because this is now, you are actually setting all of them to be strings. That's what you're doing. This is not a number, it's actually strings. The type is just strings, they're not numbers. But I think where you get this clarity is when you're writing with TypeScript. Now, but I would say stick to something like this. If you do this, it is still a string because they are not quotes. It is still strings. But if you do this, this is not Boolean. This is still a string. It's not Boolean. It is still a string. If you look at it, you know that it is still a string, because if I remove this and I write Boolean, you see that the color changed because the data type has changed. Well, if I do it like this, it is a string. Who is talking?
No worry, move on.
Who is talking? All right. So if you do this, they are all strings. They're not, if you write this, they are still not numbers. But I don't know. I have maybe, so I keep mine with the data type. This is the data type. And if you do this, now the reason why I keep the data type is because sometimes I will perform logic with the data type. I don't want to convert from one data type to another. So I like keeping them like this. But you can keep all of them as strings. It's fine. So let's go to JSON Web Token. Now, to create tokens, you need to install JSON Web Token. Wait, I have questions. Okay, the numbers are saved in numbers. Fine. I think that's because you're using the updated one. I haven't done that for a while. I haven't. So nice. That's all good. Back to JSON Web Tokens, we need to install JSON Web Token, not the S. JSON Web Token. So we'll do something like this. Yarn add, and I want to believe you know why I'm using yarn add. JSON Web Token. Now, the JSON Web Token is for us to create tokens for the user. Nothing much. For us to create tokens for the user. And this token will grant them access to the software. That is why we are installing JSON Web Token. So what I want to do is import web tokens here. Const JWT. I will call it JWT for short, but the full name is JSON Web Token. Require JSON Web Token. So this JWT is just short for JSON Web Token. They are the same thing. If you want to type it in full, it's fine. If you want to go by abbreviating it like this, it's also fine. All right. So when you have the JSON Web Token, you want to create a token for the user. So how do you do that? You say const access token is equal to await. You can use await if you want. You can also not use await, however it works. You say JWT dot sign. Now you want to sign. Signing means you are placing a signature, or you're placing a signature on the user's information, or you are using the user's information to generate something. So when you see that information, just like barcode, I don't know if you have seen, is it barcode or is it the QR codes? If you scan it, what is inside or what is used to generate that QR code is the user details. Sometimes when you scan a QR code, it will take you somewhere, or it will grant you login access, or it will do something. So that QR code works the same way like an access token or a token works. So you're just passing the payload, and the payload will be the user's details. You pass in your secret key, and so on and so forth. Maybe if you want to pass in a callback, but we're not passing a callback, we just want to pass two things. The two things is the user's information and then our secret key. So pass the two of them together, merge them together, generate a token, so that whenever our backend sees that token, it will know the owner of that token. It will know this is the person that we generated the token for. That is why we must pass in the user details here. And the user details is this detail that was found on the backend, this one. So we pass in the user details here, which is user, and we pass in our random key, secret key, any key at all. But this key is not supposed to be here. Because it's a secret key, we don't want people to see it. Instead, we will copy it, cut it out with Ctrl X, go to our .env. This is where we add every secret thing, and say access token or our token. Just call it token. Let me call it access token, since we are using it to generate access token.
So I thought it's supposed to be random. It's supposed to not be fixed or something.
It's supposed to be what?
Random values.
Yeah, it's a random value. I am the one that just typed it like that. It has to be. Some people use generators to generate it. It doesn't have to match it. It can be. It has to be secret. Your own secret key, whatever you want. Whatever you want, however you want it. It has to be, and you can make it very long.
No.
Ooh.
I had to think about what do you
Lawa
want
and
to
Co.
do?
You use your mute.
You see better.
I am Darina.
No sugar again inside.
Don't worry.
Okay. Fine. So your secret key can be anything. It's your secret key. You can generate any. There are websites where you can generate random text, random strings. So you generate anything you want. You can generate anything you want. So this is the one. Let me write something better. I don't know how to generate random strings. I will just write random like this. Like this. This is my random strings. Now I'll save it. So here I'll be calling my random string instead of the string directly. So I'll say this is going to be coming from $process. Now you don't have to put it in a string like this. You don't have to. You can just say process.env dot what's the name? The name is going to be, the name is access token.
I think you need to import .env first.
You can if you want, but you don't have to. You can if you want, but you don't have to. And that is here. So the next thing you want to do is to set when it should export. Now somebody is typing, you have a question, go ahead. We want to round up this login. We'll spend more time. I want to finish this login. We're almost done. Once we generate the access token, we send back the access token. We are done. Okay, we can't wait for you. Okay. I thought it's the JSON. No. JSON. This is not JSON. This is JSON Web Token. I am storing it inside this variable called I can type this as full JSON Web Token if I want, but I use short so that I don't type it full.
Okay, sir. Sorry. What I mean is that the token you were typing, you were just putting yourself. I thought the JSON Web Token was supposed to actually generate that token. That's what I mean.
Yes. See, the thing is this. JSON Web Token is going to create a token, but that token is a mixture of all the user's details, including our secret key, like our signature is in it. So imagine if you have your access card will have the company signature in it, something that is unique to that company, so that when you see it, you know that this is original or this is not original. So anybody can generate a web token, but how do we know that this particular web token belongs to our own backend without our secret key? So that is why we are adding a secret key. Now, JSON Web Token, we generate tokens, but we need to add our secret key. That is why if you look at this method here, it is called sign. We are signing the user's details and the token that we generated with our secret key, so that when we see that token, the only thing that will differentiate that token from any other token that will be generated anywhere will be that our secret key. So we are not the only ones that are using JSON Web Token to generate tokens. Other persons are using it. But what will differentiate it is that our own secret key. I think we've said it. So let's just round up this. Now, when you add that, the next thing you want to add is when it will expire. You add the expires in. So here I can add 5 minutes. You can do 5 minutes, you can do 30 days, 5 minutes. So this is going to generate a token, and the token expires in 5 minutes. You can increase this to 30 days if you want, like this 30 days, but I'm keeping 5 minutes. So if I save this, I can return this access token. And also return the user. Let's hope it works. So if it works, we are going to be returning the access token to the front end, and we also return the user details to the front end like this. So if I save this and make a login request, now I don't think we have created this login, have we? Yes, we have. So we have login here. I'll copy it. Then come here, create a get request, or no, rather a post request that's going to localhost, and it has to be login. And in the body, we need to be passing raw data and a form of JSON, but just to make sure that we are sending the same details that we used before. I will copy these details. Let me come here and add it. So I will remove the full name now because we don't need the full name. We just need the email. So we should be sending the email, and we should be sending the password. So if I send this request, my server is crashing. I want to find out why my server is crashing. It says expected a payload to be plain object. a plain object. So back here, since it's going to be a plain object, what did I pass in? So what I'll do is I'll console log this user to see what this user is. It has to be an object. So I'll say console log user for me. Let me see whether the user is an object, because we need to pass in an object here. If we're not passing in an object, then it's not good. So here, let me see if I send this request, what is being console logged here is an object. So why are we not getting the object? We're passing in object. So sorry, we need to look at it and understand why. This is user is an object, which is going to be plain object. Yes, so I don't want to create a user object again. So what is the shortest way to do this? Now, sometimes you don't need to do it with the whole user details. You can do it with the user ID, or just with the user email, something that is peculiar to that particular user. So what I will do is I'll come here and just do it with const user payload. Let me call it payload. I'm doing this so that we don't waste time. Now the ID is going to be user dot underscore ID, and then the email is going to be the user dot email. I don't know why it wasn't accepting that before. So that instead of putting the whole users, we put the user payload only and save it. Let's see if this is going to run. Server is connected, and then send this request, and now I'm getting a response here. So this is what access token looks like. Here we can console log the token too, just to make sure that we are seeing it better. Console log.
Okay, it added to the token, the one that you wrote in the .env.
Yeah, it's not like it's added. Yeah, it's added to it. When it is decoded, when this is decoded by JWT, you will see the user details which we added to create it, and you also see our signature that is there. But you will not see it in this text though. It's not showing here. This is generated by JSON Web Token.
Okay.
Sorry, it's a lot, right? Now, when it comes to programming, don't try to understand what is going on. Just try to understand what will happen. Here, if you try to see whether you can read the user details here, you will not see it. If you try to see whether you can read our signature here, you will not see it. This is a token that was generated. Let's say this way. If you want to enter a bank, I think before, you want to enter a bank, they have lockers outside. So they will then, in that locker, they will carry your bag or whatever and put inside one of those lockers, lock it up for you, and give you a key. So that is what JSON Web Token is doing. It's taking the user details and taking the signature, put it inside a locker and lock it up and give you a key. It is only this key that can open that locker and you know what is inside there. And I think this explanation makes it better. But if it doesn't, let me know. So JSON Web Token is not mixing anything. It's taking the user details that is sent to it and your signature together, put it inside a locker, lock it up, and give you an access token. That token now is the only thing that can open that locker and you know what details are inside there. So I think that has answered it. When you are sending back to the front end wants to see token. If it doesn't see token, it will not allow the user, because the front end will not do anything until the back end say go ahead. So the only time that the front end will go ahead is if the backend is sending it an access token. That is the only time the front end knows that the backend has validated this user and has authenticated this user to go ahead and see any private data like that. So, but without the token, it will not grant the user access. So you must be sending the token, not just the email. Now, you should send the user details because the front end needs to know who the user is. So you send the user details and also send an access token. So the access token, when the front end sees the access token, the front end knows that you have done every job, you have done all the logic, you have done everything. So there is nothing for it to do again than to just grant the user an access. It is for you. Now, you can set anything you want. You can set 30 minutes, you can set 5 minutes. I'm just showing you that you can set the time it expires. Yes, go ahead. I think yeah, okay, 2 persons were gonna go ahead. So go ahead, cost rep. After you, we go with Christopher. So cost rep, go ahead.
All right. My question is, there was a time I was writing the front end code, and the back end, they gave, I don't know how the thing works. Well, let me just explain it like this. Like when you're logging in, you have to like generate a token to know that is the user, but they don't do that for the create account. I don't know how it works, but I just want to know, is this that same token?
Now, if you create a token on the front end, now I don't think the front end is supposed to create a token.
No, that's not. No, that's not. It's from the back end. Like when the user logs in, there's a token that is generated to know that
and sent to you.
Yes, that this is the user. So if they want to log in again, it can. I don't know how to explain. They will know that yes, this is the user.
Let me ask you so that I can understand your question. So you are saying when you were writing a front end code, you notice that when the user tries to log in, the backend will send you an access token. That if this is that access token. Is that your question?
Yes. The token is know that like there is like, oh god.
Yes, this is that token. This
like
is that
when
token.
Users that save, like, is it access token that saves data for the user or something?
Okay. Let me explain it in a way you understand. If you are writing front-end code, you create a form where the user will enter their details. Once the user enters their details, you will send that to the back end. Now, the back end will then send you back the user details and also a token.
Yes.
So this is that token.
Okay. So my question now is, why don't you create a token when the user is creating the account? Why is it only when they log in? Something like that.
Okay. Now, we are building something simple. When the user is logging in here, what we want to do is something different. Now, this will take me to explain the different type of tokens. There is something we call the active token. Sorry, I know some person have questions. We'll take all your questions. Don't worry. And then there is something called the refresh token. We'll get to all of this, but for now, let's just do this one. So there's an active token, and there is an access token, and there is a refresh token. Now, access token is the token that grants the user access to see everything. It is only generated when they log in, not when they register. It is generated now. It is the token that grants you access to everything on the site or on the software when you log in. That is why it's called an access token. Now, an active token, sometimes you discover that when you register on a platform, they will send you an email with a very long link. That long link contains the website URL plus the active token together. So active token is generated when you create an account, when you register. Now, the purpose of that active token is to verify that the person that signed up is the owner of that email. So they will use the details that was used to log in. They will use that details, pass it into JSON Web Token. Where is it? Here. The details you use to log in, they will use it, pass it into JSON Web Token, and generate an active token, a different signature also. It will be a different signature, and the different token, they will all be different signatures like that. So this active token is generated when you create an account, when you register, and they will package it together with the URL of the website or the page they want you to go to and send it to your email address. If you click on it, it will take you back to the website. So that website now will take the active token and send it back again to the back end. So if the circle completes round, then number one, it means that the owner of the email is actually the person that clicked on the link. So the backend will take that active token and decode it again to see whether the details I put there and the signature I put there are actually my own, before it will then say this user is an original user. That's for active token. So a token is created when you create an account, but we are not creating that now because we are not sending the user an email yet. You create that when you are going to be sending something to the user's email. So we do that. That's for active token. So
Okay, sir. I want to also ask my last question. I know there is no time.
Go
Let me
ahead.
say, when some websites, when you create like some websites in the form, there is full name and there is
Last
email
name, first
password,
name, last
and
name.
then
Yeah.
yes, when you now log in,
Username.
after creating the account, some will direct you to the homepage where you see your names, like something like welcome, the name.
Yes.
So now
Yes.
the last code I wrote, still on that token, there was no token for the sign up. So I couldn't get the names, like the properties for the login in the homepage, except only
Okay.
when the users log in, not create account.
Yeah.
Like when they log in, they will not get the token, like generate a token that will be like that will get all the whole access. I want to know why, because some websites does it, like after creating an account, it goes straight to homepage without any of all those stuff, but some
Okay.
does not. Do you understand the
Okay.
question?
Yes. Yeah. Now, your question, you're saying that most times when the user logs in, they will go to the dashboard, they will see their name, welcome to dashboard. Now, if it also sends them to the front end, they will also see their name when they register. Now, the reason is this: the software you are building will determine how it will work. They are not the same. When the user is registering, at that time, there is a lot of logic you want to do. If your software, you want it to be fully equipped, that every user is the authentic user. Now, there are some websites that don't really care whether whether the email is your own or not. You can send any random email and it goes. I don't know if you've tried to create an account somewhere and they tell you the email is already in use without even you are not even the one that registered, but your email has been used. So there are some websites that don't really check whether the email is your own or not. But when you want to verify everything, when you really want to verify, you don't grant the user access just because they have registered. No, You don't grant them access just because they have registered. So they come to your website, they enter their email, they enter their name, and automatically you send them to the dashboard, or you start displaying their name on your website. No. You don't do that. So what you do to verify the user properly, when they register, when they enter their details and click send, now you will wait for the front end to return a message that says successful. If it says successful, the message sometimes can come with email sent or anything. But at that point, actually the backend person will be the person to tell you what to do. So at that point, what you will then do is show them a page that will tell them, please check your email or your spam folder. So you are not sending them to the dashboard or to display their name. No, you just display a page to tell them, please check your email or your dashboard. Now, when that is sent, the backend has already packaged the URL for them. The URL together with an active token together and sent to their email. So the backend has done that already. You, the front end, you're not doing that. You're just showing them, please check your email, because the front end returns successful to you. So they will go to their email or their spam folder and they will see the link. They will click on the link. The link will bring them back to your website. Now, that link contains the active token. You, as the front end, you build your website in a way that whenever that page loads, automatically it will grab the URL, divide it into two, remove the part that is the main URL, remove the part that is the active token. Then that active token, you send it back to the backend. So this verification, if it is done like this, then it means that the user is the authentic owner of that email. So anytime you want to hold that user accountable, you can hold them accountable with that particular email. For example, if it's a Gmail account, with your Gmail account, we know that it is logged into so many of your other accounts. If you perform any crime with that email on our website, we can actually hold you accountable with that email, because we went through the whole cycle of verifying that the email is actually yours. But the part of redirecting the user and sending the active token, you're not the one to do that. That is the job of the front-end developer. So your backend, what you must do is that you create endpoints. The first endpoint will be to register the user and send them a link to their email. That link will be containing the URL of the website plus an active token. Now you create another endpoint that will accept the active token when the front-end developer sends you the user's active token. By the time they click on the link and are redirected back, so they will send you the active token. You create an endpoint to accept the active token and decode the token. When you decode the token, in the token, you should see your signature that you use to sign it, and you should see the user details that you signed. So when you see it, you then know that this is the authentic owner of this email. You can then save it. So anytime the person is trying to log in, they just provide their email and their password. You generate an access token. Now you are not verifying whether the email is their own again. You're only verifying whether the email is saved on your database, and then you generate a new token and grant them access like that. So that's it too. So there's an active token. All right, welcome. I think somebody has a question. Christopher, do you still have a question, or we have actually gone far beyond our time? I'm sorry. Next class will not go too far. We'll stop early. So does anybody have a question? Christopher, anybody? Use the mic, please, so that it will be faster. The mic, please.
Hello?
Who is Christopher? Go ahead.
Okay, hello sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, my question was on how we went about using the user object, but I think it has been resolved from the question Sylvia asked. But I don't know if you can just throw some few light on why we use user dot underscore ID. That was where I was a bit confused. I was
Okay, I
feeling
will
the
do that.
user alone and the password should be able to work as an object.
Okay, I'll do that. So let's take from Prince. Prince, go ahead. Where is he? Prince? Go ahead.
Sir, okay. Okay.
Sorry, your network is bad. What's wrong? Prince, can you hear me?
Okay. I think I've asked this question. I've not got it. Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Can
Okay,
you hear me?
I'm trying to hear you. Go
Hello.
ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Like the question I was asking, you must actually answer me. Like I'm not really got what I actually wanted. Like from the code you are not there now on sending authentication. I was asking where is this authentication going to? Is it to the user's email or where is it going to?
Okay, I get you now. Fine. I'll try and respond to all of them. Now, the first thing is here. The first thing that JWT or JSON Web Token is expecting is an object of the user details. But I don't know why when I add the details, what I did was to find the user here. This is returning an object. I want to enter the whole object here, but it's not allowing me. So what I then did was to manually bring out things one by one. Now, you know that when you come to MongoDB, MongoDB gives their ID as underscore ID. So what I simply did was to call the user object and select the ID, call the user object again and select the email, because I know that these two details will be very unique for every user. No two users will have the same ID and no two users will have the same email. So that is what I did to create a new object here. Since the user object I'm trying to pass in here is not working for me, so I created a new object but passing the user ID and the user email only. Now, you don't have to do ID and email. You can do only ID. You can do other things. The reason why this is underscore is because this is how MongoDB saves their ID. They save as underscore. So I want to believe that answered your question, Christopher. So now the next question is, where is this authentication going to? This authentication is happening on the back end, and you are sending a response back to the front end user or the front end developer or the front end app, any of them. So the authentication is happening on your back end. If there is any information you want to save, you save it on your database. If there is information you need to send back, you send it back to the front end, either the front end website or the front end mobile app or any front end at all. So that is how this authentication is going, both ways. It comes to the backend will do the logic, perform anything, and send back a response like that. Now, for what is our name? It share, I'm sorry, we're not able to cover try catch, but let me do try catch. Just simple try catch inside this function here. So what is try catch? The main reason why we do try catch is to handle errors. Sometimes you will hear that server is crashing. When server crash, it is because a user did something. Now that thing the user did, the server does not understand it. So the server will stop working. That is what it means by server crashed. So, but if you add try catch, what this try catch means is try to do everything the user wants. But if you can't do it, catch whatever is stopping you and send it back to the user. So here you will return a response. return a response, the status. The status is going to be 500 because this is now an error that happened in the server. The server did not understand it. So that is why it is a server error. Then you can return a message here and say the message is going to be the error dot message like this. So this is the catch block. So we have two blocks, the try block and the catch block. So the catch block, we catch any error that is stopping the front end, the server from doing something. So here you can do anything. You can do this, the whole of this login that we did here now. You can just copy the whole of this login. You know what? Let me just I'll copy everything here, and I'll just put it here and delete some. So I'll delete this one. It's gone. I'll come here and I'll delete this one. Gone. So the error is so here now. Try block. We try to first take the user details. If it cannot take the user details, it will catch the error and send it back to the user as an error message. But if it can take the user details, it will pass that one, check whether there's an email. It will then try to do this one. It will try to do this one. It will try to do this one. It will also try to do this one. But if it can't do any one, it will catch the error that is stopping it and send that error as the message to the user. So instead of our server crashing, the user will be getting a message of what they are doing wrong or what is wrong. If it's our server will tell you, oh, the server is wrong. The server is not doing something. Oh, there's maintenance or this or anything. So instead of the server crashing, the user will be getting the error message. That is what try catch is all about. So try catch is just for handling errors. So instead of the server to crash, it will catch the error and send the error back to the user. So I want to believe now you understand what try catch is. So in the app, do we still have a question? Emmanuel, please use the mic so that we can end today's class. Where's Emmanuel? If you have a question, please use the mic so that we can end the class. Question, mic. Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead. Unmute yourself and go ahead.
Okay.
Hello.
All right. Okay.
Yes, yes.
All right. So my question is still on that try catch. So is it included at every section or it covers the whole code?
Now, try catch, you do it in every function and it covers every code you want to write there. It covers the whole code. Now, if you look here, you'll see the whole code. Yeah,
okay.
The try, everything you want to do, you put it inside the try block. You see, they are all inside the try block.
All right, thanks, sir.
All your code will be inside the try block. Now, the catch block is to catch and send only one response. You can do any other thing, just handle the error, but just catch and send. And that's it. So, any other question before we call it a day today? And also, you know that I gave you an extension for those who have not submitted the assignment. I gave you an extension of Wednesday, but that does not mean you will not get assignment for this week. So I will decide what type of assignment I will give you for this week, because every week you should have an assignment. So even though I've given you an extension for the old assignment, this week will also have its own assignment. I might delay and give you the assignment on Tuesday or Wednesday. Yeah, the video, you will get the videos by tomorrow or next. Anyone, you definitely get the videos. All right. In the absence of any question, drop a thumbs up so that we can end. So somebody has a question. Lawa, you have a question. Use the mic. Use the mic. Benga, go ahead. You've not spoken. Benga, go ahead. Yes, Lawa, I'll push the code. Let me push the code now. Benga, go ahead. We're waiting for you. I thought you raised your hands. I always say I would delete these old ones, but I forget to delete them. Backend 2. This is backend 2. I would delete some of these old codes that I've pushed to my GitHub. That's because I've never really had the need to show anybody my GitHub for now. But if I want to show investors or clients my GitHub, I need to show them something good. That's why I can't show them these ones. So I will, it's here and it's here. So I'll copy this. Now, if you try to send, see, I opened the file and I copied the files. I clicked on all the files by holding Shift to select all the files. And I did not select node modules. If you try to send node modules to GitHub, GitHub will not allow you. It will tell you that it's more than 1 gig or it's more than something. It just tell you that the file size is too much. That's what GitHub will do. So when you are sending, select the files you need. Hold Shift, select the files you need, and then drag it and drop like that. We're going to talk about pushing with Git, but let's get there. Let's get something first. And that's all. I will commit these changes and then see that it's processing. All right, so I'll push the code, I'll copy the link. No. You know, if I want to apply for a job now, I'll be applying for a senior developer role or something. So, but you will not be applying for a senior developer role. So my codes and your code will not be viewed the same way. When you share your own code, they know where to place you. When I share my own code, they should also know where to place me. So that is all. You can then drop a thumbs up so that we can end the class. See you again next week. Now expect an assignment for this week. Bye-bye and see you next week. Christopher, you want to say something? Okay, you're just typing thumbs up. All right. Bye, guys. Bye.